You wouldn't ever walk through a daytime bedding area in the woods and then climb in your stand on the backside. But people walk through big fields every day in the dark going in, spook the deer ahead of them, and at night they walk out through the same one. I go, you walk through the bedding area. Now, it only takes a few times, and then all the deer are on high alert. They're snorting and sniffing at everything, and the buck goes, I need to be nocturnal now because there's predators here. And you haven't even seen him, and just going in and out has been your clue he needed. So that's why I said it's no magic bullets. There's no magic potions out there. It's 100 little things that nobody thinks about. You put them all in a line, and guess what? You're deadly.
Welcome to the Habitat Podcast, the podcast for wildlife habitat management, hunting strategy, and land stewardship. And now, your host, Jared Van Hees.
Welcome to the Habitat Podcast.
We are hot and live, guys, here with Mr. Tony LaPratt. Very excited about this. Tony, I met you at a trade show. It was a Grand Rapids show 3-4 years ago. And I saw your presentation there. Very charismatic up there. It was awesome. You've done it a couple times, right?
I love it. I mean, this is me. Yeah. I mean, I lived my dream. As a young kid, I said I was going to be outside and be in the outdoor business. And I didn't even know how. And
let's hear that story.
Okay.
It's not from when you were a kid.
Okay. So when I was a kid, I just always loved to be outside, and I hated school I cannot stand it. And I was very terrible in school, so don't ever look at my report cards because you would never think I should know this. But I just wanted to be outside, and I thought I'd be a professional trapper, so I bought this farm out of high school with fur money. My senior year, I caught 88 fox, 235 muskrat, 18 mink, and 135 coon in 60 days. Way back then, guys, fox were $98 a piece, coon was $35 straight through. I got $8.15 average on my muskrats, and mink were $42. And ever since I was 16, I made more money than my dad did tending masons and mixing mud and everything. He said, ain't right. You go out and just goof off for in the fall and make as much as I do. But if I was never a trapper, I would have never been the hunter I am today. Guys, everything back then, the animal had to put its foot in a 50-cent piece. So when I started deer hunting, I walked into the woods, and I've always been a big guy. And I walk into the woods, and I'd see all these deer runs come together, and there ain't a tree bigger than a telephone pole. And I was smart enough, and back then you couldn't even hunt at first out of trees. So you had to think of ground blinds. Then when it got to trees, I was sitting there, I go, I always got to go to where there's going to be a big tree. When they tree hunt, I thought it'd eliminate deer when we could go to trees. I says, I got to pick a tree big enough to the bigger than my shoulders. I went and moved all the deer runs, all the scrape lines, and I just started doing it. And everybody, I told my buddies, I just rearranged everything. They go, that won't work. And guys, it wasn't even hard. The deer are so easy to manipulate. So the reason how I got that idea real quick is when I trapped muskrat, mink, and coon and stuff, everybody would walk up and down all these rivers. What I'd do is go the first couple 100 yards of each off the road, and I would go in the summertime and dig all these holes and caves, little things along the water. Then I would throw dry cat food in the back of these holes. And what happened, every coon and mink all summer long got used to coming in there, and then I just put a little bit that I know would just stop. Then when season came, I didn't walk a mile. I walked 200 yards, and I had all them animals all night come to me. When I started trapping, I go, that will be my tree. I'll rearrange this, and I'll bring all the bucks to my stand. And that's what I still do to this day. Wow. So, guys, I basically pick tree stands first when I walk a person's property. And that's why they're so deadly, because the whole system is built around the tree stand. I make sure we can get in and out. Then I go, now we ain't ever walking over here. That's going to be our bedding area. Yeah. And I destroy as many beds as I make. It ain't even hard to destroy them. Now I make a better setup. They move into that, and I'm in total control of everything because it was all started out with the tree stand.
Okay, so tell me this then. Your first farm, what was that farm and those details? Like how big, same area, anything?
Well, it was this farm right here.
Okay.
It's where I do the whitetail habitat research center. But just like back then when I first bought this, everybody goes, Tony, this is beautiful.
Now,
Guys,
how old were you when you bought that farm?
I was probably 19.
Wow.
I rented it for 1 year, leased it with an option to buy, and then I bought it the following year.
You remember what cost per acre was back
Oh,
then?
yeah, it was. Well, I paid $40,000 for 52 acres, had 2 homes. I got them to leave all the equipment. There was an old pickup truck in the barn, an 8N Ford, 9N Ford, old corn planter
Are you
disc.
serious?
They left everything. I told them, I said, you know what? I'm a kid. I don't know nothing.
Okay.
And I said, what would it cost? And they said, we'll just throw it all in. Okay, so now the farm's worth millions.
Sure, I'm sure.
And here is all I paid for it. Is 50. I paid,
Good for you for knowing what you wanted so early.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? A lot of guys take another 20 years on top of that to realize, okay, yeah, I do want a farm.
Well, like I was telling my wife, and we were dating back then and engaged, but I said, what I want to do is become a produce farmer.
Okay.
So we can actually plant early spring and have greenhouses, then plant the fields. I harvest everything, and then I have October, November, and December off, and I can be doing my trapping, hunting, and all that. And who would know, it would be very successful. But I built my life around my hobbies. That's what I did.
Cool.
So,
Okay, so you bought it at 19. You were already deer hunting then.
yes.
You were trapping. How long did it take you to come across I need to bring them to my tree? That whole attitude change.
Well, that attitude change was actually from the very beginning.
Okay.
But what didn't happen back then is my property, everybody said was beautiful. You'd hunt for 3 days, not see a deer. It was gorgeous, river running through it, but it was so wide open and so mature that you'd see squirrels and woodpeckers, but at night you'd see where deer came over and ate the acorn stuff, but during daylight, you never see them. So then I realized I had to start building beds, and I remember jumping bucks on my trap line. Sure. So I went and found where I used to jump these bucks and noticed that they're brushy and they were thick cover and they're just tucked underneath. They're like a little umbrella. It's like a little putt tent. And I looked at my woods and I go, I got none of this. And guys, I'm the guy that come up with hinge cuts, and I'm going to tell you exactly how that day was. I'm in my woods. I'm looking I can see 300 to 400 yards in every direction. I'm leaning against a maple tree that's probably about the size of a pop can. I got my hand leaning against that tree, and I'm looking around, and I go, if 30, 40 feet up, there's all kinds of cover down here where the deer are at. There's no understorage. And I go, that's why the squirrels love this woods, because there's all kinds of cover. And I leaned a little extra on that tree and the leaves shook. And I seen that. And I go, I need that to be down here. All I did is grabbed a hold of that tree with both arms and started walking it out. And I pulled it down and I got it to be right base at chest height. And I'm looking, and I started looking at all these smaller trees. I go, if you tied all these down or got these to come down, this woods would look thick as heck. And that's how it started.
What year do you think that was?
If you had to guess.
I would probably say, that was 87. I'd probably say 85, something like that. 1985.
Cool. And then you went in from there.
I went.
So getting hit in the face was, you're like, I get it now.
Yeah. And then now it changed the whole way I looked at deer. I was a great trapper because I would figure out everything about the animals. I said, I just need to figure out everything about whitetails. Mm-hmm. So then I built buck beds. Did not realize they were buck beds. I made deer beds, but they were one-room homes. So that's why the does didn't take them over.
Sure.
Okay? Does don't bed alone. They're family. So now the buck's bedded in it, and the buck would get out of the bed. He'd walk, and then in 5 minutes, he worked a scrape and went over the fence. And I go, I thought my problem was solved. Really, the beds were the first thing I thought of. And it's all the other stuff that keeps the buck on my property. Now I had to use time management, had to break my fields up. I had to give him lots of places to scrape. I had to split up all the girls and the other bucks, so it makes him want to move all around. So all this created because I watched the deer walk through a park effect woods, look at my field, 2 seconds, got all the answers, and jump the fence. Now, my bucks don't leave until late at night. So now we can get into another whole story of more how, why you need to do this.
Well, and it was easy to know which farm was yours coming down the road there, right?
Yeah.
I saw the miscanthus and the corns right behind and everything else. I'm like, we're here.
Yeah.
You know? So I could imagine that being throughout the rest of your property, very similar.
Yeah. And I still recommend that buck bedding area to me is more important than food. If you can have the best food plot that's ever been planted, but the buck will eat at it at 10 at night till 3 in the morning, and you're never going to kill him. Where he beds is where he spends his most daylight time any place in his world. So basically, a buck spends 70% of his life on his belly. Out of the remaining 30%, 20% will be in his core area, basically where he calls home. So if the buck beds on my property, right off the bat, I'm in his 90% zone, and the guy that has the best food plot that's ever been planted across the street, he'll never see my buck more than 10%. As simple as that. It's a numbers game. So now I go, okay, I'm greedy. I want 110. So now I get the buck to bed. I make great food plots. I make it all broke up so he's got to travel around to see what's in each one. And now the other people can't see him to shoot him. I can pass him, let him grow up. And that's how I get all these bucks on my property. And then one of the biggest things I came up with is buck zoning. So people don't realize everything has a system in the woods. So a doe, she'll defend when she's having her fawn so much real estate. And if you got a park effect woods, a doe group over here, she don't want another doe group being close to her. So if another one comes in, she'll go over and kick at her and they'll fight and she'll chase her off.
Sure.
But if you had a river running through there, you'll notice that the doe group on this side don't go over the river to fight that one. It's a zone. You can do it with trees, brush, plantings, 100 different ways. I learned to zone my woods, and now I can break every rule that's been written about whitetails for doe groups and bucks on the same property, because everything's zoned. Then I learned my fields are just as important. They need to be zoned. So I'm planting grasses, trees, shrubberies, and they're like a giant checkerboard. Now the does all have their own place to feed, and they all move around at night. That makes the buck go to each one. And then what happens? I've got more deer on my property than anybody else ever thought possible.
And we're talking 52 acres. So
52 acres with 23 acres of woods.
Okay.
And I hold roughly a buck per acre in my woods.
Wow.
My record for sheds is 46 sheds in 1 year. 44 the opposite year.
Okay.
So I have 90 sheds in 2 years. I went out and just mowed a couple of my cornfields last Wednesday.
We talked last week.
Yeah, last Wednesday. Yeah. And I found 13 sheds.
So you're off to a good start.
Yeah, already.
And I saw them.
Yeah. And so we haven't even went out, and I usually don't even pick them up. I save them for the boot camp. Yeah. But I was mowing, and what I do is I always, because I got so many sheds I find, when I first go to mow cornfields, I walk the first set that I'm going to mow, and I study it because I get holes in my tires. Then when I mow that area, all I do is look to the one side, and I study that for the sheds. I mow that, and that way I don't run over them because I don't got time to walk the whole thing. I do it all from the tractor seat. I watch basically 8 foot at a time, the side of my window.
Yeah. Back to your buck bedding and the zones you mentioned. Can you give me a size reference on any of that? Like, you have 52 acres, so it could be different between you or my 40 or something else's, right?
But my little woodlot, just to show you, it's only 23 acres of woods, and I have 25 zones.
Okay.
So they're not even an acre size. And then that's another one of these things that people think these big bucks need huge areas. Now, if you're a man that's lucky enough to own hundreds and hundreds of acreage, that's great. Mm-hmm. But I also don't want the guy that owns 20 acres to think he can't do nothing, because you can. Mother Nature ain't going to put nothing at much more than 10% of its potential. Our gift is we get to go in and manipulate. So now I can go into that property, and like you were saying on the zoning side, it all depends on the things.
Sure.
We can use natural zoning, valleys between hills. Okay. Right. The river. but then I use them natural, but then I go, now we're going to make man-made zones because we need more. We're greedy. We want more deer. So now we can do hinge cutting. We can go, hey, right through here, we're going to plant a bunch of autumn olive, stuff that people don't like and I love. Spice bush is another bad plant that is great for wildlife. So I'm one of them guys. I'm never politically correct, but I'm going to tell you, you wouldn't want me to be your neighbor because you'd figure out you would never get your deer over to you.
My friend Corey always says autumn olive lives matter.
Yeah, yeah. So anyhow, I'm a big fan of that stuff because birds, rabbits, everything use it. Whitetails love it.
I've been through a lot of autumn olive thickets, and they are in there.
Yes, yeah.
Is what it is.
And then again, once someone comes to a boot camp or I've been on their property, I go in and show them how to make all that stuff. You'll be amazed at how much of your woods is no more than 10% of its potential. And most people just need the recipe to go in and do it.
Yeah.
So I'm here to show people things so they learn some stuff. But then for the certified crazy guy, I tell them, come to the boot camp and you get it all and you see it all. That's where it's really at.
Certified, yeah, that makes sense. Say, I don't know which direction I want to go here. If you had to take a random 40 acres and give the top 3 most important habitat manipulations this guy named Joe can do.
Yeah.
40 acre woodlot, call it.
Well, where
are you even starting?
Well, first of all, we ain't fixing.
Broad question, right?
No, broad question, but I'm going to just do a couple things real quick.
Sure.
First of all, I always like to figure out we ain't going to fix nothing up if we didn't plan on killing the deer. So the first thing I do, again, is I figure out where will be the best stands, locations to get in for the way the land lays and everything. Then the next most important thing is your beds, because you can't hunt it if you can't get into it. So now we need to control the buck beds and doe beds, because without the deer bedding there, we're only hunting a 10% area. I want us to be a 90% area. So now we build the beds. And the other thing is, there's no sense of getting deer to live on the property and let them leave every day in 20 minutes to go to the neighbors, because now they're part of your plan, whether you want them to be. So then we need to now go to manipulate, and we need to make sure that they have lots of stopping points for food, scrapes, water, all that needs to be located. And people don't realize how important all this little stuff is. So I'm just going to kind of go off on something, but it's right on where you need to know. Most people, the best way to explain big bucks is dogs. And here's what I mean by that. If you take a female dog and a male dog to a park where there's been other dogs, open up the door, the female will squat and pee, and the male dog is going to head for every shrub in that park because every other male dog did. And he's going to lift his leg and go through the rhythm all day long. He can't even pee no more, but his leg still goes up. Because I never know what makes someone the light click on in their head.
So you're using good metaphors.
Yes. Now, you take and go wait 2 weeks and go back to that park. That dog, when he jumps out of it and sees where he's at, he already knows where he lifted his leg last time. He will follow the same path. Bucks go to licking branches. It dictates travel corridors. Dogs pee on everything. Bucks go to licking branches. So once you understand how deer communicate, you can control what side of a fence row a deer walks down just by manipulating it. Okay? The doe, she's nowhere near as territorial as the male. The male, that's what they do. They mark territory. So guys, a whitetail buck is not hard to get him to follow paths as long as you understand the preferred trees he loves to rub on, scrape on, and get everything set up. And where I don't want him to be, I eliminate stuff. Guess what? I can tell you where he ain't going. Guys, I'm a pop drinker. I don't pull into some place that don't sell pop. Okay? Because why? That's what I drink.
Yeah.
And people want to make it harder than it is. It's really basic stuff. Once you understand that, you start looking at every scenario totally different. And I make people look at it when they're standing there. I go, what is this spot doing for you? They're not bedding here. Show me a bed. They're not occupying time. Where's there any rubs or scrapes? Okay? I go, this ain't feed in your woods. There's no food right here. So what is it? It's wasted real estate. Now, what's the best thing to do? Well, we now got to look at the area to see what it's best, but we cannot have it be wasted real estate. And most places in your property, you own 40 acres, 36 of it is nothing for the deer. They travel through it. I make every little chunk do something. We either got to be a stand location, it's got to be food, it's got to occupy time, or it's got to be bedding area. But it can't be in between it all, because then we don't have the land we think we do. And once you start breaking your property down, it ain't even hard. The deer are going to come to it.
Well, based on the aerial you showed me, you use the square inch.
Every square inch.
So, but here's a question. Do you ever have any, and you just said you didn't, but any deer dead zones, desert areas where maybe your neighbors at or somebody, you're like, I don't want the deer coming through here at night because there's a road right there in Kapow.
Yeah,
there
it all depends on what type of neighbors you have.
Okay.
If they, I ain't going to say I get along with my neighbors. But the point is, they will not shoot over the property line.
Okay.
They will not trespass. Okay? We may have different philosophies, but I respect them on that part. Okay?
That was a question I was going to ask you.
Okay. But if there's a way to design it. My property's designed a certain way because I know I don't want my bucks right on the property line. And so I put bedding area over there. That way, if anyone hugs the line, it pushes them to me and everything. So it's just the opposite. Now, if you're going to have people that will shoot over the line, then you got to play with a different system. I have a scenario. So at the boot camp, I show everybody 2 different ways. There's actually way more than that to protect property lines, food plots, etc.
Yeah,
because we all got to deal with stuff. It's the way the world is.
Yeah. That's for sure. Especially when there's permanent blinds set up before you buy a parcel or things like that where your neighbors are, they're already on the line and you're the new guy coming into town. I may or may not be dealing with that on my piece. There's some strategy that has to go into it.
Yeah, and just like one other thing that's very important that we haven't touched on yet, but I'd like to mention, is a lot of guys will call me up and say, Tony, we've been passing up bucks for 10 years. Year and a half, 2.5, and 3.5. And we always thought we'd end up with this big stockpile of, 5.5-year-old bucks. And then we'd just shoot a couple. And then next year there'd be more because we got them there. And we don't even see them. And what a lot of people don't realize is a 1.5-year-old buck will act more like a doe. He'll bed close to them. And you'll see him a lot in a food plot. When he gets 2.5, you won't see him half as much. He gets 3.5, you see him even less. Well, people don't realize every year they're getting smarter. But here's the thing that I never heard anyone talk about, and I'm big at explaining this to people and basically showing them how to change their property. When he gets at 4.5 years of age, most of the time in Michigan it'll be 3.5 because we got so many hunters. So we're a year or 2 ahead of the Midwest. That buck looks around and your woods is mostly open. When he gets out of his little thick area you may have for him, he has to travel in too much open area. The food plots are huge. The fields are huge. You got square box blinds sitting right out in the open. And he looks around and goes, I'll never get old here. And he's loyal to nothing but habitat. And this buck will leave and go 5-8 miles down the road or farther. And you got him to 3.5 and got him so now he's a nice buck, and he leaves you because you didn't understand you didn't have your property thick enough and designed right. So my big bucks don't want to leave. I find their sheds all the way through the years. Old Limper built the bed when he moved in when he's 1.5 years. I killed him at 7.5, and I picked his sheds up every year. Why? Because he stays on the property. Most guys pass bucks and they get them to a certain size and then they don't ever find their sheds no more. And they go, well, I think someone poached him or killed him. And most of the time he left on his own. Had nothing to do with another hunter. Your habitat didn't match what he wants. If you're a young guy and you just got married and you're trying to find a home to raise your family, you move into a place and find out that it's not the neighborhood you thought, and there's breaking and enterings and all kinds of other things that ain't right. Your wife will look at you and go, we ain't living here. And guess what? You'll move. Now, guys, that's what happens to these bucks more than people want to admit. They are leaving you when you actually get to the size you want, but you got to understand what they want. That's why I explain a lot of details in my boot camp, because that's what makes my bucks stay. Yeah. So just make sure if you're passing them up, why ain't they still there? And if you don't find sheds, that's the key that you're weak on beds. A buck spends, what did I tell you, 70% of his life on his belly, the remaining 20%. My bucks, I may run out of feed and they may travel, but most bucks will come back to their bed and travel that distance. So I find tons of sheds because I control their beds. So if you never find sheds, somebody's light should come off and go, maybe we don't have the bedding we think. And there's lots of things that go along with that.
Oh, I believe that. Is it safe to say you're the outlier property in the area? You're different than everybody else?
Oh, yes. Yeah. Yeah.
The best?
Yes.
Around?
Yes.
Yeah.
This podcast is brought to you by Latitude Outdoors. Guys, Latitude Outdoors is one of the top saddle hunting manufacturing companies in the world, here headquartered in Michigan. Guys, I've worked with Kevin, Alex, the guys over there at Latitude. I've been using their products for over 3 seasons here at Habitat Podcast. The first deer I shot was that first big buck on the 15 acres out of my Method 2 saddle. That buck, I shot him out of the saddle using the climbing sticks, the platform, everything to get up, and that saddle is just very versatile when selecting a tree. That's the first time I hunted that tree on the 15 acres. I climbed up that day and was able to make the shot and a follow-up shot on that buck in that saddle. Guys, the saddle is so easy to use. You literally strap it on like a seat belt, like a belt. It's all ropes. There's no metal components. There's no tinging and banging and clunking. I wrap it around, I step into it, I cinch it down, and I'm on my way out. I also use their Carbon Speed Series climbing sticks. I got those brand new this year. I've been using those all over bow hunting and gun hunting, from public land to private. Very lightweight, easy to carry, stackable sticks. I ended up putting stealth strips on mine and using daisy chains. They compact very well, hang out of the bottom of my pack. And when I'm wearing the Method 2 saddle, I can easily pick any tree in the woods and hunt. Guys, if you're looking for a way to outfit your property without spending $200 per stand, like I'm gonna do on the new 40, I'm gonna prep a bunch of saddle trees and keep the deer guessing on where I'm sitting. They will not know my true stand location because I will not have one. Guys, saddles are very versatile. I urge you to check them out. Latitude Outdoors. Again, I've been using them for years and they are great products. Latitude Outdoors, thank you for supporting the Habitat Podcast.
Have you ever been overwhelmed by the hundreds of food plot seed mixes out there? Well, you are not alone. And Vitalize Seed has developed a seed program that takes the guesswork out of food plotting. Vitalize Seed has 2 core mixes, the Nitro Boost and Carbon Load, to keep it simple. Nitro Boost is their spring-summer food plot mix, and Carbon Load is the fall plot mix, each having a diverse mix of over a dozen different seed types that are highly attractive to whitetail. Food plotting made simple, but it gets even better. Each mix provides necessary nutrients to the soil, making for better plots each season and saving you money by needing less Roundup and less fertilizer each season. The 1-2 system simplifies your food plots just how nature intended. Vitalize Seed. Make biology work for you. Order now at vitalizeseed.com.
I mean, to be honest with you, we're on tape.
Sure.
There's not a better designed property in the whole United States for whitetails than my property. I've been on, people that hire me are not guys that are brand new at hunting.
Right.
They're elite hunters that have unbelievable walls. And people think guys that come to the boot camp, I have guys come in and got a bigger wall than me. They might be from the Midwest, but they know I got something they don't have. And they said, we hunt hard. And they all write, Tony, you just made our job so much easier. And so I really get into the deer's mind and behavior, and that helps guys that are already good become great at what they do.
Yeah, your wall reflects that.
Well,
so I
spent one.
Sit here and look at it, man.
There's guys that deer hunt. There's many deer fanatics out there that are great guys in hunting. But I'm that guy that every day got up for my life, and my mindset was not so much to study deer, which that's what I was doing, but I wanted to figure out, can I manipulate them to make it beneficial for me? So my setups ain't through a human mind, because a predator, because we're the greatest predator to all walk the earth, we'd go out and think, well, we want a 10-acre field and put a box blind in it, sit in there with our gun, and when the buck comes out, we shoot it. I go, the big buck, he's over in the little corner looking out a little hole, and go, I'll never go out there. So I designed my stands through his eyes, and that's why they're so deadly, and that's why it only takes me a couple days a year to shoot my bucks, because I gave him exactly what he wants. He doesn't know I exist. And another thing, people put too few tree stands to hunt, so most guys put in a food plot, put one stand. 4 or 5 guys, a lot of times I'm walking with in a day on a property. I walk in and I go, guys, that stand, how long's it been there? 12, 15 years. It's the only time something goes wrong. It's that tree, because there's no other stand. And I joke and I said, guys, if a doe comes in this fall and don't look at that tree, shoot it. It's special. We don't want it to breed. The easiest thing to pattern in the woods is people. Mm-hmm. And we get stuck in routines. And that's why I'm on a property. I said, guys, don't even hunt that corner no more. It's a one-dimensional setup. Put some stands in here. I show them how to fix it. And I go, and you can get it, so they now think that that's no predator no more. But right now, that is already being taught to the fawns. They teach where there's issues. They stop, stare, look up, and the fawn starts watching a tree, and it hasn't ever even seen a hunter there yet. Mother taught it. Just like when you take your kids to school. You got to look both ways before you cross the road. These people are crazy.
Yep.
Okay? That's all it is. It's little things that everybody don't think that's important.
In addition to that, how do you approach wind? This could be a huge part of your plan here in the topic, but being so compartmentalized in the property and building it to be so diverse and thick. And
I'll give you a couple of things. I'm a guy that makes wind tunnels and stuff. I never talk about my wind stuff in public.
Oh, I didn't know that.
No, that's fine. But I'm going to just give you a couple of things.
Sure.
Because anything I say, in a few years, everyone's out talking about it. And guys, the reason they call me the godfather of modern day habitat, deer and deer hunting, and they wrote unbelievable things about me. Ted Nugent's, everybody. I've been in this game a long time, came up with a million things. What's sad, when I first started, there was no seed companies, no fertilizer company at the deer shows, minerals. None of that farm equipment of any kind wasn't even invented.
That's hard.
And I was there trying to show people how to manipulate their land. And I grew produce back then. I used sheep mineral because there was no deer mineral. It wasn't even thought of. Like I said, Imperial Whitetail Clover was the first food plot company to ever come to a deer show. Okay? I seen the first little planter, the first little disc. I've seen them all come. Okay? Back then, everybody said I was totally crazy. For 15 years, I was supposed to be nuts. Now everybody copies me. And that's flattery, and it's America. I truly believe everybody's got a right to make a living. I just don't want you to. I always say you should give credit where it's due. That's all it is. You can say, hey, I do a lot of things that Tony LaPratt come up with a long time ago, and I might have fine-tuned it. But the guys that act today, when they talk, they act like they invented it. And I'm here to tell you, I know the guy that did that. Okay? I had to take the BS for everybody for a long time. Now people want to know what I talk about. So anyhow, getting back to the wind. The biggest problem is most stands I call one-dimensional. So we just take a square field, and you got your southwest corners where the deer are coming out. You got your stand in there. Okay? The problem is when you only have one corner that's hot, what happens is this is where the buck will come. He can see everything. You basically made it so everything has to be perfect to hunt that corner. What I do is show you how to get stands in each corner, or odd shape, don't gotta be square. But then we screen it all and we hide it all and we make social hubs at each corner that buck cannot help himself no more. Now I'll make it so he can sneak and have licking branches all along the way. Now he circles that field. I can hunt any wind that's thrown at me because one corner is always perfect for me. If he only comes out at one corner, everything has to be perfect. You get 5 guys hunting a property. It's Saturday. The wind is wrong for that stand. Someone's still in it because it's their only day off, and they're not going to set in a corner that they never see deer. So they're going to go, I got my scent lock on, or et cetera, whatever they got. They're going to talk themselves into that stand. And because I automatically control the wind right off the bat by making the deer circle the field, then you add in my wind tunnels and all the other stuff I show people, which their jaw hits the ground at the boot camps. You can almost hunt any spot with just a few minutes worth of work. And people don't realize it. And so I just will leave it at that.
Sure. I appreciate that. You mentioned bedding a little while ago on the edges for your neighbors. So like when your neighbors would come in, because they're not going to be as careful as you,
yep,
they're going to bump them back to the interior. I've seen properties set up like that. I've seen them set up the opposite way. And maybe it's a per property thing. It usually is. But
yeah.
What do you think about bedding on the outside versus bedding in the center? Do you have bedding in the center?
Yes, my property has bedding in the center.
Everywhere?
Yeah, and I'm a guy that hunts from dark to dark. And if you're a guy that hunts from dark to dark, doesn't matter where your bedding's at because you're beating the deer into the thing, you're staying all day.
Boy.
The guys that come and go, all that matters. So if you're only hunting a few hours, now we got to have a whole different system and everything is twice as crucial. But I'll just tell you, most people will walk all the way through their property line to hunt right on the property line. Well, guys will always say, well, Tony, back here I don't want nothing done. And you start looking at all your edges, how much real estate that is. And I said, well, we will make it beds. Tony, he stands right there. I said, if I make a bedding area for you and then mark a tree in the middle of the bedding area and tell you that's going to be your tree stand, what would be the first question you'd say? Well, how am I ever going to get into that if the deer are here? You can't. So what you want to do is train your deer that as they come to your property line, the predators always come from that direction, and then you make it so they move in. And what I do is I build great bedding areas alone, but then I make sure I got enough empty beds in the center. As they keep spooking them deer have another place to go. But you think the does wouldn't go back? But they always want to watch edges because that's where predators come. So they want to go there, and they do it. You pressure them too much, and I give them a place to move in the center. I still didn't lose them, and yet I taught them there's where the enemy is. The real trap is me.
And you're already up in the tree because you were there before.
And so the whole thing is about manipulating of the deer, the way they perceive everything.
Get inside the deer's head.
Getting inside the deer's head.
Seem to be able to do that.
That's all it is.
So what about an access trail around the edge of your property? A lot of guys do that. I've recommended that before. I want to be able to walk through my property.
I think you should have an access.
Different.
Yeah.
So
now there's different ways of doing that. You can have an access trail, but it don't need to be right on the property line. It can be off just 20 feet or something, so you can have some thick cover.
Got it.
Or you can have it right on the line if you got neighbors they ain't going to trespass or shoot over. And then you can make that their travel corridor to stop them. Deer are edge animals. So if you got a woods and it butts to a farmer's big cornfield, you can't stop them from going out there unless you make an inside edge. So now you go inside and make an opening there, and now they stop there. If you design it right and put enough liquor in it, you can make them use up an hour at a time there, and now it gets dark before they step over the fence where they could be shot. So you're asking a question that has 10 different answers depending on the situation. That's why my ultimate land management, when I go right to the property, I'll say 50 different things because each property is different. Now, if the guy tells me, Tony, I've known that guy for 20 years, don't even hunt on this edge, he stays over in his woods, I'll design it one way. And then I said, but if something happens, here's what you got to do to stop it. I can get it right back so it's negative for him. And then if we got issues, there's one way of doing it. If everything's okay at this time, we can do it this way.
Sure.
Because how I look at it, you only got so many acres. Most people don't got the luxury of just letting a whole bunch of area be like a dead zone.
Sure.
It ain't really doing nothing for the deer. I make every inch of my property be something because I'm limited to the amount of deer I can hold, and I need to utilize it all to shoot big bucks every year.
Okay. Your access trails that you have here, do deer use those?
Yeah, you can't stop them.
Yeah.
But I mean, mine are like dead end roads to my stands, and I block it so then they don't go down it, and I make it so it ain't easy for them to continue on.
They feel trapped, so they won't dare.
That's what it is. And so there's little tricks to everything.
Yeah.
But most people, they cut their paths, and now all the deer are walking to them. But then there's even tricks there. You should never walk straight into your stand because that, like behind it, because then if the deer walk it and they smell where you stepped, they stop. You can't kill them. So I control, even when I get within my kill zone of a stand, I make sure I walk a little way sideways and then cut in. So when they smell me at that area, they're still already going to be dead because they're where I can shoot them. So I make one mistake and then I never make it again. Okay. When I see something happen, I said, what just happened? That deer smelled where you stood, and it was in your kill zone, but it was on the backside. Why are you coming in? You'd have been better off to come over to where you're in your position where you can shoot and walk the last 20 yards where you can shoot. If they stop and smell it, that means you could have toasted them.
Yeah, you're already drawn back. You're good
yes.
To go.
So now I show all that little stuff. That's why I'm one of them guys. People go, what? I said, I've always been that way. I'm a guy. You're the guy that invents stuff or can think of things, or you're not. And there ain't nothing wrong with that. It's just it's who we are.
Yeah. And you can fast track your property 5, 10 years by hiring a consultant to come out there, right?
More than that.
Or if you did something wrong, like cut a bunch of trees out in the spot.
You want to know what the average guy doesn't have? 2 things: time and money. So most of us, we lose interest if we keep working hard and ain't getting our goal. And everything's expensive. And when I get to most properties, the first thing they said is, I wish I would have hired you the first time I bought it, because they went in and put in food plots and made them too big. They put box blinds right out in the center, and now they're totally worthless. Every deer knows where they're at, come and go. It's all that little stuff that eats up your energy. And as you get older, anybody that knows, when you're 50, 60 and start getting older, every decade you can tell the difference in you, and you don't want to be making mistakes. And for the young guy, I don't care then. You're better off. I started right off getting them. That's why I got 65 big bucks on the wall. Okay? I've been at it a long time. Yeah. And I made sure I've been consistent all these years. That's all it is. So it's always better. Here's the thing. If you're just a guy that deer is fun to you, I wouldn't think a consultant would be worth your time and energy, because you're out just enjoying yourself hunting. But if you're a guy that while you're working, you're thinking about deer hunting, and any minute you get off, you want to go deer hunt, why wouldn't you want to be the best you can be and the fastest to get there? That'd be like saying, I want to be a famous basketball player, but you never practiced basketball. Guess what will happen? Your life will get by you, and you'll realize you never made it. The guys that set goals are guys that get to their goals. The guys that don't set goals usually don't reach it. It's that simple in life.
Yep.
And everything I've ever done, I live in a house that you're looking at is very different. I'm one of the largest artifact collectors in the country. And I set my goals when I was a teenager. And I own what I set my goals at. I said I was going to work on the outdoors and do something in the outdoor world, either trapping or deer hunting. I done it. And I got my collection, and I lived my lifestyle, and I've never had to do what other people told me I needed to do. Even when other people said I was crazy and it wouldn't take off. This is for the young people. I stayed focused. I don't let other people tell me what my abilities are.
Yep. So, Love it.
Yep.
That could be applied to anything in your life, right?
Anything in life. Cool. You just stay, and you want to know what? Everybody wants everybody to do pretty good. But most people don't want you to be outstanding at what you do. No, it's a truthful statement.
I believe it.
Even the people close to you,
yeah,
they don't want you to outshine them, and I'm not that way. I got a million faults everywhere. Deer hunting ain't one of them, or Indian artifacts. The point is, most people don't want you to be that person that really gets out ahead of everybody. And I just say you just got to stay true to yourself. And if that's what you want to do, you should give it 110% and hope for the best. And if you're really a guy that puts your energy where it is, you'll pull off your dreams.
I couldn't agree more. And like you said, putting your best foot forward and just not giving up. Double the hard work, triple the hard work of what everybody else is doing. You're going to pull away.
Yeah. And it's just like when I got started, right? I have people go, there's no way this guy can make buck beds and doe beds. It's not even hard. I can make them look whatever way you want. That ain't even hard. And you want to know what? If you fall into that trap of listening to them, then you ain't ever going to be who you want to be. And I'm one of them guys that I say, guys, I don't even give somebody 1 second of a negative thought, because my skill, I want to give it to another person that has common sense. And I go, all I know is I pay attention to everything I love. And why wouldn't I want to? So I'm all here to tell you guys, yeah, you love deer hunting, find people that are good at it, that do it consistently, and pay attention. There's a reason. That's always the way to do it.
Well, that's a wonderful spot to wrap, but I have a few more things for you. A few more questions. You mentioned mistakes that you've seen people make, or you make a mistake once, and you figure out how to fix it. Give me your top 2 or 3 mistakes over the past however many years here on this parcel.
I will just tell you right off the bat, I learned that most people, and even me, because I hunted like everybody, would hunt on too big of food plots.
Okay.
And a big food plot is going to be a nighttime bedding area. They're going to be there later. So if it's getting dark and your deer are still staying underneath your stand, then your stand ain't set up, because my property, my stands where I kill my big bucks, when it starts to get towards evening, they naturally walk away by the design of the food plot. I want them to feel safe during daylight hours and scared to death of it at night. Thick cover all around it. That's why they go out in the open to lay, because the coyotes can sneak up on them. So what I want them to do is, as it gets dark, getting towards dark, automatically my deer naturally move away. And so I like hunting under a real little food plot, a medium food plot just a little ways away. My biggest food plot's the farthest away from my stand, and the deer naturally gravitate. And now when the buck comes in, it's me and him. And if he ain't there that night, I get down, there ain't even a deer to know where I am at. Most people are hunting on food plot. When they get down, they got to bust deer out or have someone come and get them. And I go, well, how do you get away with that, Tony? And I'm just thinking, you need boot camp and a million other things, because you think that's going to be your one question. I solved that. But there's 20 other ones you didn't know what to ask.
Yeah.
But right there, instantly, it tells you you're on too big of a food plot. Whether you got to get some grass and cut a corner off and make it smaller in that one corner so it ain't the whole field, but you can't have them staying there. Deer will not stay in a little food plot once it starts to get dark. Especially the thicker the stuff is, the worse they like it. The birds start flying into the brush. They'll just get nervous as heck, and they want to get out of there because they can't see good. During daylight, they're in the thickest cover to hide from man. And they're calm during daylight because they can see. But at night, they don't want that cover around them. And that's why they all go out to big fields. It ain't for feed. People mislead us. I got to deal with what was said, destination food plots. Well, it is food, but at the same time, it's where they lay at night, so the coyotes can't sneak up on them. So here's as simple as this. You would never walk through a daytime bedding area in the woods and then climb in your stand on the backside. But people walk through big fields every day in the dark going in, spook the deer ahead of them, and at night they walk out through the same one. I go, you walk through the bedding area. Now, it only takes a few times, and then all the deer are on high alert. They're snorting and sniffing at everything, and the buck goes, I need to be nocturnal now because there's predators here. And you haven't even seen him, and just going in and out has been your clue he needed. So that's why I said it's no magic bullets. There's no magic potions out there. It's 100 little things that nobody thinks about. You put them all in a line, and guess what? You're deadly.
The devil's in the details,
yes,
right?
It always is.
I mean, we were out perch fishing this weekend, and we all did okay. My one buddy did very well.
Yeah.
And what he did was he got away from the crowd because what we realized at the end of the weekend was people walking on the ice nearby, spooking all the fish around.
Yes.
So it's a little detail. He could have sat by us and drank beer and had a good time and whatever, but instead he went off on his own and figured that out. Like to your point, the details are what kill these big deer.
That's right. And especially if you want to be a guy that does it every year, do it easy so you ain't hunting all. Most of us, like you're a young man. You got a family, you had to take kids to school today.
Yep.
Okay?
Yep.
Guess what? You only have so many days, your wife and your family, that you can give away to that. I'm a guy that goes, I take a guy that owns a business, he has family, obligation, and he can still be a great guy because he ain't out there all the time not doing something else. I go, when the off season, you go fix all your spots up and make them deadly. And when you hunt, you only need to hunt 2 to 3 days and a buck's dead. Most people hunt a ton, don't do nothing to their stands. Really, guys act like they did something. All they did is hung a stand. I'm talking about food plots, scrape lines, sneak tunnels, bedding areas, and a million other things, putting in watering holes, licking branches, zoning their woods. Now, what you're doing is making an unbelievable setup. So when you go there, you're going to see deer all the time. Now, you don't got to miss ball games and all this stuff because, like me, I don't need any one day to kill a deer. I can pick almost any day. A cold front's coming in, so I don't get nervous. I don't like everybody thinks they got to be out there opening day. I don't even hunt the first 25 days of the season. Bowing. I never go until 25th of October, roughly.
Okay.
And I'm usually done before the 1st of November. Why? Because I believe in myself. I've took the time to study them. I know when they're moving. And it ain't that I might not be able to get them. But now I can do all the other things I need to do. And when that time comes, I go in, get it done, get out. I put no hunting pressure. Why am I picking up all these sheds? Because I didn't scare the bucks off during hunting season because I didn't go back there 45 times.
And they're not smelling your boot scent after you were there 2 days later.
Yeah, that's what I mean, yeah. So it all adds up. And really, the guys that don't realize it, the more hunters you have, the more everybody needs to understand all this because you're only figured out by your weakest link. So 2 of you can be the most. I could be on that property and I'm a guy that every little detail matter. But if I took an average guy and after I left, he hunted the next day, walked all over, the deer might not know I exist, but they know he exists, which affects me. Mm-hmm. And that's why I said, guys, when you have a hunting club, you got 3 to 4 people hunting your property, you need someone like a guy like me that comes in because I'm a neutral person. And I can talk to a brother, I can talk to a dad, I can talk to a son.
Been doing it the same way for 50
and I can
years,
look at him and go, listen, this is the way we do it. You're going to kill 20 more. And he'll give me the benefit of the doubt for the day and listen to me. You cannot talk to the people that are so close to you. They love you, but they don't listen to you. It's the truth. I can't talk to my brother, my dad alive. He only killed a couple of bucks. And I wouldn't even talk deer to him because it upset him. You want to know what? I didn't care. He's my dad. So I go, okay.
Yeah.
And that's all that mattered to me. The point I'm getting at, people don't realize what a third person does in a group when you got 5 chiefs. You need one guy that comes in that everybody goes, man, he sure got a lot of bucks. And I make sure they understand. I explain stuff to them. And right off the bat, I cover stuff that I go, let's go to your stand. Let me show you a couple things. And I tell them how they come in and stuff. And these guys look at me. And I go, if you did this, this, and this, it would be 10 times better. And it's like the one guy, he's an older guy. They walk across, I call it classic mistakes. They walk across their food plot to get in a gun blind to shoot back the way they came. The gun shoots both ways. So why not stay over here and never put one step in that field?
That's hard for people to grasp, I think.
Yeah. And they just look at you and I go, you walk all the way across. Now at night, every deer smells you for days. You shouldn't even step in that food plot. The one example was a big conifer. We come around the curve. Here's this beautiful food plot. And he had his blind in the corner. I said, look at it. Come right back here. And we went back. We made a new run. I told him to put their blind over there. He didn't want to do it. He hardly ever shoots a deer. His son did it for him. Guess what? He hammers big bucks every year now. He didn't realize all that going back and forth kept the big bucks from coming into that field. And now his blind's behind the trees. We just trimmed it out. I said, everybody thinks the blind's got to be in front of that tree. A sniper needs a 2-inch hole to take you out at a half a mile. And the guys act like they can't have one branch in front of that thing. I said, put your blinds behind all the trees on the edge, trim the few trees and be a dark hole there, and you'll kill big bucks. You can't set it out in the middle. Can't tie a Rottweiler to your front door and then wonder why no trick-or-treaters come.
I like how you use all the metaphors. I think that's a skill over time that you probably did, developed.
I'll be honest with you. Cool. I was terrible in school, hated school. And the only teachers I liked were the ones that made it fun and kind of taught a little different. And so because I was a bad student, I became a great teacher because I know what not to do. Be exciting, give good information, and get to the point. Yeah. This is the longest I've ever took to kind of get to certain points. Yeah. But me and you are going to be doing some other ones where we'll get more right on the thing. Yep. But this is a good introduction for people to start seeing, getting their way of thinking, and then we get into other stuff that will really just change. But I mean, really, right now, all this stuff matters. If you're walking through big fields to get to your stand, it's a big no-no. Right. You ain't going to be successful. Right. If your blinds are sitting in the open, they know that. I mean, if your bucks are not bedding on your property, you don't find sheds, that's the first thing you need to fix is if they ain't living there, you're only at 10%. You wouldn't want to go try to fish a whole lake and be where there's only 10% of the fish or they're all in a nice, using the structure, and you go, 90% of the fish right now are in these channels. Yep. That's where you catch fish. So anyhow, it's all about the way you look at things.
Well, that was awesome, Tony. That was very, very informative. I have a rapid fire set of real quick questions. Yep. Bang, bang, bang. We'll be done for today's purposes. Okay. If you're ready for it.
Yes, I am.
All right. Favorite drink?
Well, I'm terrible. I drink Diet Pepsis right now. I've always been, I used to drink Diet Mountain Dew and everything, but I don't get hooked on them. I grew up next to the Pepsi-Cola plant. Okay. So I drink way too many.
How about favorite venison recipe?
To be honest with you, my wife does the cooking in there, but I mean, I like some of her venison that she puts in with the gravy and the potatoes and everything like that. But we eat venison, but I give a lot of it away too. Great. Because all our families eat it.
Great. Let's see. What broadhead do you use? Fixed blade or mechanical?
I use mechanical.
Which one?
The Rage.
Okay. Permanent blinds, permanent tree stands, or do you hunt mobile with a saddle or a climber or anything like that?
My stands are all set up to kill deer for generations. Okay? Now, there's two ways of looking at everything. A mobile guy now can go into a spot, but a lot of times the spot ain't super because it ain't had the time. I fix it all up and then hunt it with unbelievable respect and rules that I never break. And they can be in the same spot for 30 years. And most people can't put up a new spot, hunt it 3 times where most of the deer in the area don't know they're there. So it's a
kind of a different question.
Yeah. Because again, I'm one of them guys, I can answer questions, but the people don't realize there's 15 other things I cover in my boot camp, why my stands can be there for 30 years. They've never killed one doe. I never shoot a doe out of a permanent stand. You shoot does out of a permanent stand, you ain't going to kill many bucks. Yeah. Because the other does all have witnesses, and now every time they go by, they lift their head just to check the wind, look up at it. They don't ever look at this tree. They don't do it to this one because you've never been in it. Guess what? Takes that buck only a couple times, and he never has to see it. He'll start hooking that area. It's little things. Yep. No magic. It's just little things.
All right, how about this one? Food, water, cover. What's most important?
Well, I think if it's...
Had to pick one.
Well, everything's got to eat, okay? But I'm going to say there ain't no way to put food because then the guys think they can plant a food plot and have no bedding. If I'm going to kill that animal, then cover's the best because I can hunt any bedding area and kill that mature buck. I can hunt food plots that I know I'm never going to see them there at daylight. So I'm just here to tell you I like cover.
How about your favorite habitat implement? Like what do you always have in your tractor, in your quad when you run out there and work?
I'm going to tell you, there ain't nothing better than a chainsaw. And an excavator for a lot of my stuff is we use little mini excavators. And
Stanthus, ponds, whatever.
Cool. Yeah. Screens from the road so people can't see what's going on. You know how many people have a big field and every car stops to watch the deer and then they all run back in, and you do that day in and day out, and you put a wall up in front and the deer are calm. They stay out. The cars can go by. Nobody sees nothing. You don't get trespassers because they don't know what's on the other side, so they don't drop off. Everything has to be protected and screened, in my opinion.
Perfect. Last one.
Yep.
Your favorite tree. This could be to hunt on, it could be habitat-wise, it could be you just like looking at it in the front yard.
Well, if you had to really pick the favorite tree, which there's many that could fall in this category, but I'd pick a white oak because just if you want to look at beauty, it's there. It feeds tons of animals. It's the best acorn. And the tree is always big enough to hide a guy like me. and it'll last more than my lifetime. So oaks are almost mystical.
Yeah.
Okay. But I'm going to tell you, there's great hackberry trees and there's mulberry trees that people would think is junk, but for wildlife and stuff, they're unbelievable for habitat or drawing deer to your stand, basswood. So I'm a guy, I can tell you the plus and minus of every tree and shrub in the woods. And most of the stuff I like, most people, if you were talking to somebody that was book taught, they tell you, oh, stay away from that. Guys, most people that are trained from books will never be special. And I don't care if this gets me in trouble. The best people in any walk of life are self-taught people because we weren't bound to anything. We just went and found the answers. And so we got more of an open mind. We don't say, oh, no, don't plant autumn. We go and look at autumn, study it, and then realize, man, this is great. Not because of some opinion. Okay?
Yep.
So I'm just here to tell you, keep an open mind when you're listening to people. And if the guy, I'm one of them guys, even though I talk for a living, it's basically, I have to watch everything I say because I'm judged on everything. Okay? And I'm going to tell you, if I tell you to do something, you're pretty much going to be guaranteed when you go do it, it's going to work because I've been doing it my whole life. And I said, Tony, don't say something stupid and destroy yourself.
Right.
You're the only person. It don't matter if people like me or hate me. As long as I stay true to common sense and only talk about stuff I know that's right, there ain't no way it's ever going to affect me.
I like it.
Okay?
Well, Tony, thank you very much, man. You want to tell everybody how they can find you, get a hold of you, everything else? I mean, I'll put that stuff in the notes, too.
Yeah. Just here, Tony LaPratt, you can look it up. And the Whitetail Boot Camps, I highly recommend that 2-day course. And then, of course, we have Ultimate Land Management where I come right to the property.
Awesome.
But most people, I said, 90% of my business is word of mouth. That's the best stuff. You can't buy it, you got to earn it.
Well, hey, I appreciate you letting me come down, and your wife as well, the Alpha Doe, thank her as well. And this was great. So appreciate it.
Thank you very much.
Thank you for tuning in to the Habitat Podcast. We really do appreciate you guys coming back every week to get this awesome Habitat content. And we would appreciate it if you went to iTunes, Spotify, wherever you listen to this podcast, and leave us a 5-star review. That helps us continue to grow and trend in the right direction, attract new listeners, and help us provide better content in the future. Guys, we have a website full of resources. We have a blog on the website. We have YouTube, Facebook, Instagram, all linked up at habitatpodcast.com. Our land plan services, merchandise, decals, hats, t-shirts, and I give away a free 5-inch decal to anyone who leaves us a review on Apple iTunes. Really appreciate it. I want to thank our partners, Downburst Cedars, Vitalize Seed Company, Morse Nursery, Packer Max Cultipackers, Stealth Outdoors, Tagged Out Seed Products, First Light Latitude Outdoors, United Country Midwest Lifestyle Properties, and Exodus Outdoor Gear. Thanks again, guys. We'll be back next week with another great episode of the Habitat Podcast. Thanks for tuning in.